Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are so pleased to have in the studio with us today Melissa Peterman. She is the Executive Director of Townspeople. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great.
So,
how are you?
Doing just fine, thank you. Looking forward to a nice weekend, I hope.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Hoping it's much cooler, but I don't know if it's supposed to be.
I think it's going to be warm. What part of the county do you live in?
I'm in South Bay.
South Bay. Okay, well, it's supposed to be, I think, in the East County in the 100 and 110s or something like that.
Ooh.
But you know what? We will get past that.
Yes.
Townspeople. What is it? What's the mission? How long have you been there?
I've been with Townspeople for 3 years, but the organization is in its 40th year in 2024. We were started in the 80s in response to the HIV/AIDS epidemic, and there were some really great San Diegans at that time who saw folks being denied housing based on their diagnosis, and were like, we got to do something about this. And so they created Townspeople, and we've grown over the years to provide affordable housing to folks who are medically vulnerable, experiencing homelessness. And yeah, it's really cool to be part of an organization with that kind of history.
Right. So then is it morphed more into not exclusively with folks who have HIV/AIDS, it's anybody who's homeless or anyone who's medically compromised, or a little bit of both? How's that work?
A little bit of both, yeah. We focus on medically vulnerable folks so we can maintain the focus on people living with HIV/AIDS. That's a really important part of our origin story.
Right.
But because of advancements in, medical treatment, people living with that diagnosis are living so much longer, and which is amazing. And so we've been able to expand beyond that. And so helping folks who are disabled, who are living with mental health crises, it all ties together for us.
So how do you get your clients? Do they come from different agencies? Do you work with like Father Joe's, so to speak, or Rescue Mission, or people that are in crisis centers? How does that work?
Yeah, there's no wrong way of getting connected with townspeople.
Right.
I would say a big referral partner for us are actually community clinics.
Okay.
So we work with family health centers, San Ysidro,
Health center.
Of the really key community clinics, and we've got great relationships with the medical case managers. But we also receive a lot of referrals from the Regional Task Force on Homelessness.
Right. So then, someone, when they contact you, are they saying Joe Blow is about ready to lose their housing or has lost the housing? And then once you get that call, how do you make an evaluation of who you work with, or do you work with everybody?
Yeah. Depending on the situation, depending on the program that we think would be the right fit, sort of dictates what we do. But so if someone is currently unhoused, they would come to us. We do an assessment, and we could, if we feel like this is the right way and there's no other option for them to like go stay with family and friends or something, we work with local hotels and motels to provide temporary stays for folks. We just find that to be a really valuable and dignified way for people to get off the streets.
Right. So then we have Deacon Jim's on the show quite a bit.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've known Jim for a long, long time. And of course, unless you are not paying attention to what's going on in San Diego County or the country at large, but especially San Diego, obviously it's a big issue with us here. I know it ranges, are we number 3 or number 4 in the country, but we're up there. And we all know that. You know that better than anybody on this aspect of it. So if it's somebody is referred to you and they just don't want to be housed, is that something, what do you do?
Yeah. We don't often encounter that situation.
Right. That's good.
I think more often than not, it's that we don't have availability for folks. So we've either tapped out of our emergency housing dollars or all of our affordable housing units are full.
Gotcha.
So that is the conundrum we find ourselves in most frequently.
Right, exactly. I think, one of the biggest myths we talk about, especially when Deacon Jim is on, or Donnie D from Rescue Mission, or whomever the case may be, is that a significant amount of folks that are homeless want to be homeless, which is so far from the truth, is it not?
So far, yeah.
Where does this myth come from? Because they, yes, there are a certain part of the population that I don't want to be housed. I won't have any restrictions. I want to do what I want to do. But that is pretty small compared to the overall number, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where that comes from.
Right.
I can assume that it's likely because it's been so long, generations that we've been behind in our housing production goals. So folks they've had no other choice but to live outside.
Right.
And the longer folks live outside, the harder it is to bring them back in.
Yeah.
And so I think that can be confused for reluctance or a refusal to come inside, when it really is about building trust and taking the time to get to know someone and to really help them believe that this is different and better for you.
Right, exactly. We're chatting with Melissa Peterman. She is the Executive Director of Townspeople. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 18th year. We're brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for more than 6 decades. Mission Fed's just been doing great things for people living in San Diego County. So how many people will you serve a year? And that, obviously, I'm sure it fluctuates.
Yeah. So on average, about 350 people a year. We're a small organization in comparison to a Father Joe's.
Right.
But I'm thinking we just launched a newer initiative called the San Diego Shared Housing Collaborative. And I'm thinking through that, we'll wind up seeing an increase in the numbers of folks that we support, which I'm glad for. I'm not glad that there is such a need to be able to serve more folks, but I'm glad that we are finding new ways to do that.
Right. Now, so you said primarily you're working with hotels and so forth to find housing. Are you working with any other entities?
Yeah. So Townspeople, we own and operate a portfolio of affordable housing.
Okay.
So we've got 4 apartment complexes throughout the city of San Diego. And so that's on our permanent housing side. We also work with private property owners in the community. So we have some rental assistance that we administer. So we look for property owners who are open to renting to our folks.
Nice.
And then we pay their rent through and take care of them from a supportive service standpoint.
Right.
On the shelter side, rather than us sort of having a physical space where we can provide shelter, we partner with hotels and motels, and we have partnerships throughout the county, just because it's important to us to make sure that people are residing in the place where they feel like it's home, and they're near their support systems, whatever that might look like. Right.
And so how long, you meet somebody, you say, okay, you do the interviews and all this. Oh, this is be great. Here's is it only in the city of San Diego, or is that throughout the county?
Throughout the county. Okay. The properties we own just happen to be in the city of San Diego.
Gotcha. But you work with folks throughout the county.
Yes.
So let's say there's a hotel down in South County, and we got Joe Blow or Joanne Blow set up there. Do you deal with the families as well, or pretty much just individuals?
For the most part, individuals, adults. We do have, one of our properties is multi-bedroom, so it's a lot of families with young children that live there.
Gotcha.
So by default, we provide support to those families, but historically have always worked with adults.
Right. And then is there a time frame? So you have the person in or the family in, whatever the case may be. They start on, we'll get you set up on October 1. Is there a time limit?
For emergency housing, unfortunately, yes, because we've only got so many resources.
Right.
We're very happy to receive funding from the County of San Diego to support that.
Right.
But it's a finite resource, so we try to stretch it as long as we can.
Right. But so someone comes in October, well, how long can they stay?
30 days.
Okay, 30 days. And then if there's no other option after 30 days, what happens?
We get really creative when we start reaching out to all of our peer organizations to see if we can move them into their program.
Gotcha.
And, it's a dance I wish we didn't have to do, but it is sort of the state of the game.
And is it because that's a capacity issue then? So, right. And then obviously if you're at full capacity and, then, if you're meeting with someone, will you meet with someone if there is no room, or because that would just be a futile effort? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, Denise is our emergency housing coordinator, and I don't know anyone else whose phone rings more
Of course.
and whose inbox fills up more than her. And I don't know how she manages to connect with as many folks in a day that she does. And so even if we're at capacity, she's making time to talk to them and to reach out to our network to see if anyone else is able to, take the referral.
Right. So, if somebody, and we could talk about this when we come back from break, but think about this. So they've come in, they've done their 30 days. It's time for them to, hopefully you guys can find another place for them. But if they can't, then they just go back to the street. Is that what happens?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. And do you keep an eye on them? Do you keep staying in contact the best you can?
The best we can. And that's why it's really great that we make connections with the other service providers that are working with them, because we can kind of keep it in touch. And as there is capacity with us or elsewhere, we have a sense of where they are, particularly their medical case managers.
Right.
And so we can directly or more immediately let them know, like, hey, Father Joe's Joshua Holmes has a bed available. Like, let's get them over there.
Right. No, I think that's great. We're going to be back chatting with Melissa Peterman, Executive Director of Townspeople. Find out what our listeners can do to support your efforts. Volunteer, donate, open up their homes, open up if they own apartment buildings and all that business, and really chat about what we can do to help expand their great footprint. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast on our 18th year, brought to you by the amazing folks at Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing great things for people living in San Diego County, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's literacy, whether it's art, you name it. Mission Fed is involved to the nth degree. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We are broadcasting from these really cool studios in Scripps Ranch. Honored to have in the studio with us today Melissa Peterman. She is the Executive Director of Townspeople. Their mission is to end homelessness and improve community health by providing housing and services to those that, whether they're medically compromised, mental health situations, and everything in between. Work with about 350 folks annually, give or take, during the year on this. So what can our listeners do to support your efforts?
Yeah, a big thing that we're focused on right now is raising awareness and visibility for solutions to homelessness, which is housing.
Of course.
And so there are many different ways that folks can support that effort. If you own a home and you are interested in renting to our folks, you can reach out to us at sharedhousing@townspeople.org. If you have a pretty big bully pulpit and want to help us get the word out, you can follow us on social media, reshare our posts. We're on all the channels. And of course, donating to support our work is really valuable. You can find us on townspeople.org. And we've a lot of the proceeds that we are able to raise go directly to welcome home kits for our folks who are moving into new homes and they don't have anything but really what they're able to carry and wear. And so we are able to provide a bed and, kitchenware. In fact, actually today, we're one of our best partners is an organization called Humble Design. And so our team is actually going to volunteer today and to outfit a home for folks who are exiting homelessness. And so we're going to set up their living room and their living space so that they really can have a better chance of not returning to homelessness and just thriving, really.
Yeah. So of the folks, you mentioned there's a 30-day window. How many of those in the 30 days actually now move on to find even more permanent housing? Yeah.
The success rate is not great. It's great.
One person is good. So,
yeah. Right. But we're, depending on time of year, we're at like a 16 to 30% exit to permanent housing from emergency housing. So it's better than the average, but it's not as great as it could be. And a lot of that just has to do with supply and availability. Most of San Diego's rental housing stock is multi-bedroom. But our system has been so focused for almost its entirety on getting people into studios and one bedrooms, which don't really exist.
That's right.
And are incredibly expensive to afford on your own. So we've really been focused on building relationships with property owners who have multi-bedroom units so that we can not only lower housing costs by having folks share just like most of us do, right? I think I've only lived by myself for 2 years in my entire life. And so they're sharing housing costs, so it makes housing more affordable. There's more of that kind of housing available. You're building a support network by sharing a home with someone. And so that's one of the ways that we're really trying to get people to increase that exit rate from emergency housing.
Right. Again, we're chatting with Melissa Peterman. She is the Executive Director of Townspeople. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. So of the different options, you said, people opening up their private homes or people that, own apartment buildings, or you working with the, hotels or motels. Which do you see within that scenario is the greatest opportunity to expand what your folks doing? Is it getting the individual people that just, open up your homes, or boy, that is just a tough nut to crack?
Yeah. We're focused on a big push we're doing right now is shared housing, but not with owner occupied units. So
Gotcha.
vacant units. And so what we've done is create kind of like a Match.com.
Interesting.
But for housemate pairing. So folks who are experiencing homelessness can access our online portal, complete a profile.
Right.
And then they'll be shown folks on a percent scale of how compatible they would be as housemates based on how they answer some survey questions.
Sure.
And they can engage with one another in the portal. And then we host meetups in person and invite folks to be able to get to know each other face to face. And then once folks sort of create their housemate cohort, we help them find multi-bedroom housing that meets their combined preferences and then provide ongoing support to help them maintain stability in housing.
Right.
So we find that working to build those relationships, those inroads with property owners who have that kind of housing stock in their portfolios is immensely helpful.
Right. And, obviously, you just mentioned housing is certainly an issue in this San Diego, not just San Diego for that matter, but definitely in our neck of the woods. So the 30 days, right, we'll use, Joe Blow or Joanne Blow on October 1, and hopefully by October 31, if not earlier, they've found some, more regular or permanent housing. What other interventions do you work with them on, help them to find if they need jobs or to find opportunities to revenue, or obviously you're trying to find them permanent housing as well? What else do you work with them on during those 30 days?
Yeah, we're working on, depending on their situation, let's say since oftentimes they're medically vulnerable, we're working to make sure that they're enrolled in healthcare and are, taking their medications, and just the immediate focus is always like stabilization. So what can we do to help make sure you've got a safe place to get yourself back to a healthy state. And then, if they're able to work, we're helping connect them to workforce development opportunities or actual employment opportunities. We help them if they need food assistance. We're connecting them with
food banks.
Yeah. So we really, no one can solve homelessness on their own. And so it really is all about the network and the relationships that we can build so that we can refer folks to the number of places that they need in order to, just have all the things that it takes in order to really live a life.
Right. No, exactly. And there's no easy solutions to this. The easiest would be if someone just waved a magic wand and there was 1,000 beds that were available. Right. Yeah. And I know people are working on that. There's no question about that, as well. So you brought up mental health. You can't turn around and not know that the world, for that matter, certainly San Diego is not, immune to this, is in a mental health crisis like we've probably never seen, in generations and generations. So when somebody comes in and they're with you for 30 days, do you offer mental health opportunities for them? Do your counselors come in, or?
Yeah, we work with the clinics or whoever their healthcare provider is to get them set up because it's what's really critical for success and stabilization is ongoing support, right? So we're a temporary stop on the way to stabilization.
Right.
So we want them to build a connection to a mental health provider who they can continue to see.
Right.
Well into their housing tenancy.
Right. And then hopefully if they transition to permanent housing. So what is the 100-day challenge?
Yeah. So I mentioned our focus on shared housing. And so we are working with dozens of organizations across the region to move 75 people into shared housing by November 8th.
Okay.
And so we've got amazing staff from Father Joe's to Path to Interfaith Community Services, everywhere, Alpha Project, who are really taking ownership of this goal and looking for ways to break down barriers to housing and get as many people sort of paired up or quadrupled up with folks who they think they could live well together with, and then find housing opportunities for them. So we're at, I think, as of this morning, I want to say it was 16 people. We've been doing this for just a little over a month, so I'm feeling pretty good about the progress that we're making.
Right.
Just last week, we had a housemate cohort move in, and it was an elderly gentleman and a couple who is pregnant with their first child, and they are like living well together already. And it's so nice to see that intergenerational connectivity too.
Yeah. Well, we all know, certainly you're working with the person who is homeless. But as we say all the time on our Spotlight show, whether it's mental health or whether it's drug addiction or it's something else, it's the whole family that will benefit from that person then doing this. What is the best way people can get a hold of you, either personally or through the organization, to do whatever you need to do? Do you need volunteers? Do you need product? Do you need anything else?
Yeah. Folks are more than welcome to email me directly,
Sure.
melissa@townspeople.org.
Right.
Things that we need, I mentioned move-in kits.
Right.
Is it
on the website where they?
Yeah.
Okay,
so
good.
on our website, we have an Amazon wish list that includes a lot of the items that we put into our welcome home kits, and volunteers. So as we have a move-in, pulling together volunteers, just like we're doing today with Humble Design, to put those welcome home kits together and then set up a home for folks. So yeah, there's a multitude of ways to get involved.
Well, thanks for what you're doing. I mean, nothing more important than getting those folks, in an emergency situation, housed, okay, and then B, hopefully finding them some permanent housing down the road. A pleasure chatting with you,
So
Melissa
nice talking
Peterman.
with you.
You bet. Wishing you nothing but great success moving forward, and maybe we'll have you come back on in a few months and just see how things are going.
Yeah, hopefully we've met that 75 goal by then.
We'll be happy to chat about that. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlossberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by the very cool folk of Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing great things for anybody living in San Diego County. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlossberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.